أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال هذا رحمة من ربي، فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا، وكان وعد ربي حقا. وتركنا بعضهم يومئذ يموج في بعض، ونفخ في الصور فجمعناهم جمعا، وعرضنا جهنم يومئذ للكافرين عرضا. الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكانوا لا يستطيعون سمعا. أفحسب الذين كفروا أن يتخذوا عبادي من دوني أولياء؟ إنا أعتدنا جهنم للكافرين نزلا. قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا؟ الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا. ذلك جزاؤهم جهنم بما كفروا واتخذوا آياتي ورسلي هزوا. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا، خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد، فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. صدق الله العظيم.
الحمد لله الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين. صدق الله العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Inshallah, our topic for today is 4 steps for a Saalik. But this is more specifically 4 steps to have your muraqabah be as beautiful as possible, your meditation to be as beautiful as possible. And Hazrat Bayazid Bustami rahmatullah, he stated that there are 2 steps for one to enter paradise. And the first step is to take a step onto your temptations, your nafs. And once you have controlled your nafs, you have achieved nafs mutma'inna, and you are free from sins, you actually want to do, your temptations are what is according to the Sharia and what is according to Islam. and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then one can take their next step into paradise. Similarly, in our Naqshbandi silsila, in our Naqshbandi curriculum, there are 4 steps for a Saalik to be successful. And these are called Siwar-e Arba'a, Arba'a meaning 4. Not until a Saalik has taken these steps, then one can obtain understanding or ma'arif of the silsila itself and obtain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I was saying Siwar-e Arba'a, so Siwar means steps, and Arba'a means 4, so there are 4 steps. And inshallah, if we complete these 4 steps, then we will be successful in the hereafter, and with our zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our meditation, inshallah. So when someone works hard and puts effort in himself, then even a rock solid heart can be eroded and become alive again. So starting off, the first step is that habit of sitting itself. So that is a very difficult step for many people. And this habit needs to be fulfilled and needs to be what is a habit itself. This is a requirement. Many people in this Western society, we tend to sit in chairs a lot, especially in universities. They set up desks in which we sit down, or there's a bench in which we sit down. And we tend to just sit in a fashion that is not the way of the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this style is completely different, and it is what we are used to at this point, especially people who were raised in Western education. In fact, some say that they refuse to even sit down on the floor and will sit on the chair for whatever reason. Many people have reasons such as arrogance, in which if they sit down on the floor, they feel like they are less than other people. And so they want to sit on a chair or sit on a sofa or sit somewhere above, right? But as students of Deen and students of this Naqshbandi curriculum, we need to follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah. That is what we are striving to do, and we are trying to humble ourselves so that we can be the best possible people to be presented in the hereafter, inshallah. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to enter paradise without any judgment at all. Ameen. So someone once said to me that about 2 decades ago, there would commonly not be a chair in the masjid at all. And those who actually needed a chair, so many people who did have a cast on, for example, or were very old and they needed a chair for sure, had knee problems or whatever, they would actually bring their own chairs from home. And now, subhanAllah, there are rows and rows of chairs. In fact, sometimes I feel like that the masjid is more filled with chairs than there is space for people to stand. And nowadays we see people who are sitting on chairs that are people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. These are very young, aged people who are sitting on chairs. And so we need to build this habit so that we can follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah. So we need to develop ourselves so that we can sit for very long periods of time and do zikr. So many can sit for hours even if they feel uncomfortable with worldly things. Like if they're talking in conversation about something worldly, they can sit there for a very long time, but they feel very uncomfortable. But for prayers and for muraqabah, we struggle a lot. Our mind does not allow us to sit for a very long period of time. And so we need to develop this habit. In the beginning, a Saalik will feel in like about 5 minutes that their leg will start to break and maybe their vessel will pop. But the reality is that no one has ever broke their limb or broke their leg or had a vessel pop and lost their limb entirely because of sitting for too long. So we should also have this understanding that if one pushes themselves enough, this pain will eventually go away and it can be overcome, despite how much difficulty it is. Many people, their ligaments and their muscles are so tight that they can't even bend enough. But if one does enough practice and a person who has done martial arts enough, one can understand that if if you stretch yourself enough, you do develop that flexibility. And so consistency is key. The main problem for those who don't sit on the floor is that their vessels are getting squeezed. So your vessels are made in a way that most of the vessels of your legs are going from the back of the knee. And a lot of the large vessels, specifically for the people who are in medicine, the popliteal vein is going through there, and the popliteal artery. So these major vessels are crossing this area, and it is being squeezed when one is sitting in a position like crisscross or in a tahiyyat fashion. And so because of the lack of blood supply and the lack of oxygen, because the purpose of blood mainly, one of the functions of blood is to carry oxygen to areas of muscles and tissues and etc. But because of the lack of oxygen, it is getting it is more difficult, and lactic acid builds up and it becomes very painful. And so what happens over time is that when one sits like that, similarly, a situation happens when in the heart, when there's a plaque buildup in the major arteries of the coronary arteries, collateral vessels develop, in which collateral vessels are basically vessels that develop on the side of those veins and the side of those arteries, and allow the blood to cross from one area to the next, by bypassing that area that is being squeezed, for example, in this case. Or in the case of the heart, where the plaque is, it's going to bypass that area. So it's like a natural bypass. And this is what collateral vessels are. And this takes time to develop, but it will develop. This actually develops even in older people with heart problems itself. They even develop collateral vessels. And so as people who are generally healthy and people who are young, it is something that we should definitely understand that this can be overcome. But like I said earlier, consistency is very important. It's like training your body for a marathon or training your body for a UFC fight. If you do enough exercise or enough practice of that thing, and you do it consistently every day, then inshallah you will succeed, and you will have that exercise as second nature. And similarly, the collateral vessels will also develop, and one will not have pain anymore. So once one has overcome this challenge, then they will be able to sit for hours, and the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remain. So that distraction of pain itself in the legs will go away, and it won't be a problem anymore. And so this habit is necessary to develop. Hazrat Shaykh al-Hadith Maulana Abdul Haq rahmahullah, he used to hold the Bukhari Sharif. Hazrat Abdul Haq rahmatullah alayhi, he was a student of Hazrat Madani rahmatullah alayhi, and he used to hold the Bukhari Sharif in his hands in a manner like he was making dua. But in addition to that, he would be holding it for hours every single day, because he was a teacher. He was a Shaykh al-Hadith. He would teach students in this way. And then in addition to that, even he would not rest his elbows anywhere, and he would stay like that for many hours. And he did this out of the respect of the Bukhari Sharif, and he used to do this every single day. Allahu Akbar Kabira. If one has ever held the Bukhari Sharif itself, it is about 8 pounds, 7 to 8 pounds possibly. So even something like this is able to be achieved. Many Buddhist monks or Hindu monks, they stay in one position for a very long time to make a point, something related to their religion. So I saw this one person who held his hand above his head for many decades, and eventually he said it didn't have any pain anymore. So your body, it has the adaptability and has that function that it can change to its environment. And so one should have this understanding and have this glad tiding that inshallah you can also achieve this. But just know that in the beginning it's definitely going to be difficult. It is something that prevents people from being consistent in their muraqabah, but as time goes on, it definitely becomes easier. ثم تلين جلودهم. So first, one develops their body so that it is soft for zikr, talween julud, softening your body, right, for the zikr. And then وَقُلُوبُهُمْ إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, and then the heart will also soften and for the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is just the natural way of doing things. This is a natural process, and one cannot just bypass this. And therefore, if you are not physically apt and able to do so, you should train yourself before saying that I'm going to develop my heart. The distraction of pain is very severe, and therefore you should overcome that first before you venture off into developing your heart and sitting there for a very long time, for hours on end. So what is the root cause of a hardened heart? That is forgetfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So why don't we have these feelings, these kafiyat? Why can't we stay in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's because we are forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? We just don't have that habit, right? So that's also another reason why we need to develop this physical ability and this habit so that we can sit for long periods of time. In agriculture, if you don't plant on a field for many years, it hardens and becomes impossible to use that land. Evidence from the Quran, I'm gonna just translate. Has the time not yet come for believers' heart to be humbled at the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what has been revealed of the truth, and not be like those given the scripture before? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to remember Him, and we should not be in forgetfulness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting for us to remember Him. And if we take one step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes 10 steps towards us. If we walk towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala runs towards us. So we should definitely take this to our advantage. Another place in the Quran, those who are spoiled for so long that their hearts became hardened, and many of them are still rebellious. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have now kept them in that position in which they are always in a state of forgetfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to be in this position. We don't want to be far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we need to work on ourselves. And so how can we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Well, the first requirement to start that journey is that we do long muraqabah. So one should do muraqabah in such a manner that they are sitting in one position for a very long period of time, right? So how does one actually do muraqabah, right? So you can either be in the at-tahiyyat position or in the crisscross position, right? So you can sit in that position, but one should remain in that position the whole time. But now that you are in this position, Shaitan will start throwing ideas at you, right? That maybe your leg is going to break or your neck is going to break. So one needs to continue to push themselves in spite of what Shaitan is telling them, so that you can become stronger and develop that vasculature and be able to do muraqabah for a very long period of time. And eventually you'll get to a point in which you will have no pain whatsoever. We need to understand what muraqabah is itself. Muraqabah is like charging yourself. Let's say you are a phone, you're a cell phone, you are a laptop, right? And our hearts need to be charged, right? So we sit and we focus fully that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, we are in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of our ability to do maybe, let's say 30 minutes or 1 hour of doing muraqabah, then we are able, that is enough fuel for us to be able to drive us for the rest of the day, right? Because especially in the beginning, we need to strengthen our heart to continuously love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and we need to practice. We need to develop this habit. And so we have to plug ourselves in. We have to plug ourselves into the outlet so that we can charge ourselves, and then we can do wuquf qalbi for the rest of the day. So remember, our destination is that we develop yadasht. I mentioned this in the previous lecture, that we need to develop yadasht. What is yadasht? I'll quickly say what it is. Yadasht is when one is able to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without any hesitation, without any difficulty. That is our end goal. Muraqbah is where we start from, right? And when we start with muraqbah, we concentrate ourselves towards the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we can achieve yadasht and we can achieve wuquf qalbi. And so we should definitely charge ourselves. Now, when we are waiting for someone who is great, right? We are waiting to have a meeting with them. Now, let's say you are waiting to meet the mayor. Maybe you have to wait a few hours, right? Let's say you want to meet the governor. Maybe you have to wait a few months. You just want to simply send a letter. It takes such a long time, right? But for meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the king of the universe, we don't even want to wait. But we do need to wait for his closeness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to purify us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make us apt to actually be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if one waits here on this earth, then when he wakes up from the grave, then he will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he will be smiling, inshallah. And so now that we understand this first step, which is to develop the habit of sitting, the second step is that we shouldn't fear and stop fearing the ideas of shaitan. So what we call the waswasa. So those ideas that are coming from shaitan, we need to understand that is definitely going to be one of the tests, right? So one needs to make a routine to sit and do muraqbah to reach zikr qalbi, either like in tahajjud time or after Isha, for example. But after you have decided your time and place and routine, then when one sits, then shaitan will definitely be starting to put evil thoughts. And shaitan does not want to see you be successful. He does not want to see you grow and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is against what he wants. It was against what he promised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he will do. But despite all that, despite what your temptations are saying, your nafs is saying, despite possibly the friends and the family that you have around you, you decided to sit and you decided to do muraqbah. Shaitan does not want to see this. And shaitan will do everything in his power to be able to prevent you from progressing in this Naqshbandi curriculum and in Islam itself. So you need to fight. You need to fight these ideas and you need to fight these thoughts. And these thoughts could be the worst things that you have ever thought of. It does not matter. These thoughts could be so strong, even you will be surprised that, oh my God, why did I think of this? This is not something I ever think of, but why during the time that I'm trying to do muraqbah, and many a times people have this feeling during prayer, that even during prayer or even during muraqbah, I'm thinking these extremely evil and wrong thoughts, right? But despite this, just know that this can exist and this can happen. But even though that is happening, one needs to stay steadfast, needs to be dedicated and motivated and disciplined. Maybe on the first day, you'll have 100 thoughts like this, right? 100 different ideas. Then the next, you'll have 99, then 98, then 97. And by the time you hit, for example, day 100, you're down to 0. And now, because of this continuous steadfastness for a little over 3 months, you are able to clear yourselves from these shaitani thoughts. So an analogy to understand that was described by Shaykh Dr. is, let us say that there's a room with fecal matter in it. Let's say it's cat fecal matter in there, right? Or whatever fecal matter. If you open that door, if you open the door, you will smell it, right? Let's say someone had already closed the door. Now the fecal matter is in there in without any ventilation, right? So you open the door and then you have a strong stench on you. If you close that door, you will definitely stop smelling the fecal matter, but you haven't removed the problem. And so the next time you open the door, the smell will definitely be there again. The only way for you to fully solve that problem is if you go in and remove the fecal matter from the room itself. You cannot just remove yourself and expect that the next time you're going to go in that room, it's going to be clean or it's not going to smell anymore. Similarly, we need to enter the ring with shaitan, right? We were talking about UFC fighting. We need to enter the octagon with shaitan and push him out with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the muraqbah and your steadfastness and with the prayers of our elders and our shaykh. So if one is dedicated and steadfast, there is glad tidings that you will be eventually drowning in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the abilities to do so and the capacity to be able to do long muraqbah and fight shaitan with a lot of strength, inshallah. Now the third step is to understand how to do muraqbah and to do muraqbah correctly. Because if we do not complete our muraqbah in a manner that it is correct, then we are not obtaining the benefits from muraqbah. Muraqbah is a very specific way of trying to obtain wuquf qalbi, of trying to develop that concentration of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we need to do it correctly. So some start doing muraqbah by doing zikr with their breath. Some do zikr with their tongue. We need to learn this proper way. There's no need to move your body back and forth, possibly due to some rhythm. Maybe you have a rhythm of zikr, but it's not required. It's not something that one should be doing at all, right? It comes under talween al-julud, in which you are softening your body, you're relaxing your body, right? So you don't need to say anything or breathe in any way or move in anything that's different. One can close their eyes and then do zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the correct way, right? So one can close their eyes. They don't necessarily have to, but one should close their eyes, especially in the beginning, because seeing things are distractions, right? So one should close their eyes and feel that your heart is saying Allah, 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 and all you are doing is listening. Hazrat Shaykh Dr. Nadeem Qureshi, he says that one can understand this by imagining that they are sleeping. Just before you sleep, what do? Let's say you went through a very long day in which you had a lot of different things at work that is bothering you. You had some issues at work or at home, etc. But what do you do just before you sleep? You try to clear it out your brain. You clear your mind, because if you have these racing thoughts, you will not be able to go to sleep. Similarly, just before muraqbah, you might have these racing thoughts, right? Because now you are trying to concentrate on one thing, on the tawajjuhat or the tajalliyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So you need to close these thoughts from your mind, just like you're about to go to sleep, and then focus on the zikr and the tajalliyat and the tawajjuhat, right? So we should be able to do that with muraqbah. And now the fourth step is that we need to dodge the invasions from shaitan itself, right? So after you have achieved these three steps, you might start feeling sleepy, or you will sometimes start dreaming about certain things, right? Sometimes shaitan can show you different landscapes, beautiful landscapes, maybe show you paradise in some way, right? And this can develop feelings of self-praise and arrogance. And now Shaitan is trying to develop a spiritual disease within you, saying that you are such a great and pious person, and now you should now you are starting to stray away. Your intention is at stake here. Our intention is to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our focus specifically in this Naqshbandi curriculum, our destination, as we mentioned before, is that we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 24/7 without any difficulty, without any hesitation. Not that we want to be a great alim or a great Sufi, right? Or someone whose du'as are accepted. These are not goals. Or maybe something that is unique to reality, like a karamat, happens to you. That's not the goal. That is not what we are trying to achieve. These are all only distractions. And we need to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to be very careful. Hazrat Qadir Jalani rahmatullah alayh, very big shaykh, and he was sitting in the jungle doing his muraqbah, in which he then heard from the jungle, the pen has been lifted for you. Hazrat rahmatullah immediately responded by saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right? He responded by saying the verse of the Quran, we need to worship until we die. But Shaitan did not stop there. Shaitan wanted to continue. So this fourth step basically continues on till the end, and these invasions will continue to happen until you die. Right? Okay, so Shaitan, he did not stop there. He then said, you are protected because of your knowledge. Hazrat Qadir Jalani responded, saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Not because of my knowledge was I saved, but because of the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we need to understand that this world is a place in which we are not ever to be relaxed. We need to continuously focus that we need to make sure our intention is straight. We need to make sure that we are moving in the correct direction and towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even a great shaykh like Hazrat Qadir Jalani had to still fight and dodge these invasions. Who are we to say that we won't have these invasions? But if we remember from a previous lecture, eventually a person will achieve a level in which they are protected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Shaitan's efforts will not harm them at all, will not touch them at all. But Shaitan will not stop. Shaitan will continuously try to attack. Right? Even Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was attacked. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was attacked. These great Anbiya were attacked. And who are we to say that we are going to be fully immune? And so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to strengthen our muraqbah. Just to summarize real quick, the 4 steps of making our muraqbah as beautiful as possible, and the 4 steps for us as a Saalik. The first one being that we need to have that habit of sitting, right? And the second step is that we need to stop fearing of the ideas of Shaitan, and we need to get ourselves into that ring and fight these ideas until we won't have these thoughts anymore, and we will be fully concentrating on the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third thing is that we need to make sure our muraqbah is actually being done correctly. If you have any questions or if you have any difficulty understanding, one should definitely ask, and don't hesitate to do so. Your company of your shaykh, the company of your shaykh is there for a reason. We have this advantage and we have this opportunity that we have our shaykh, and our shaykh is available to help, and this is his whole mission, and therefore we should definitely take advantage. So the third step is to make sure our muraqbah is done correctly. And then the fourth step is that we need to dodge from the invasions of Shaitan and make sure that we are maintaining our intention and we are not developing any spiritual diseases. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to take what we learn and apply it to our lives. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to progress in the Naqshbandi curriculum in a manner that was taught to us by our mashayikh. Ameen. Thumma ameen. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Let us make dua. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam tabarakta rabbana wa ta'ala ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we are so weak, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we are have done so many sins, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we are trapped into the ideas that Shaitan has put on us. Ya Allah, we are trapped in the invasions that Shaitan has already entrapped us in, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we need your protection, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we don't even know where we are and how deep in forgetfulness we are, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we aren't even doing anything about it, Ya Allah. Or the efforts that we are doing, Ya Allah, it is not enough, Ya Allah. You are such a great being, Ya Allah, and we can never achieve that level to satisfy you, Ya Allah. But Ya Allah, you come to our level, Ya Allah. You are so merciful, Ya Allah. And even one sight of yours can cleanse us forever, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, you can purify us and make us a great person, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, you have turned even the worst of people like alcoholics, Ya Allah, into such great um, Imam of the Mu'mineen, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, please forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, have mercy on us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we have done so many sins, Ya Allah. We have done sins in private, Ya Allah. We have done sins in public, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, forgive us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, forgive us. Ya Allah, we want to remember you, Ya Allah. We want to do zikr, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we want to stop forgetting you, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, our mashayikh have been trying to teach us the same thing, Ya Allah, but we cannot stay steadfast, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, for some reason we fall off track, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, who are we to blame, Ya Allah? We say shaitan, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we say our nafs, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, maybe we'll say our friends and family, Ya Allah. But Ya Allah, it's our laziness, Ya Allah. You have already blessed us with being part of this Naqshbandi silsila, Ya Allah, this Naqshbandi curriculum, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, still we are being lazy. Ya Allah, Hazrat Ma'asum Rahmatullah, he said that the only person who will not progress in this curriculum will be those who are lazy, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we are definitely being lazy, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we are definitely being lazy, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, please forgive us for our laziness, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we say in our prayers, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Ya Allah, you have already answered this prayer by putting us on this curriculum, Ya Allah. We are on this straight path, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, our Shaykh is there for us, Ya Allah. And he tells us what we have to do to be able to be better people, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, you have already accepted this dua, but Ya Allah, just grab us and put us on the straight path fully, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we still ask, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. And Ya Allah, maintain us on this path, Ya Allah. Keep us on this straight path, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. And Ya Allah, allow us to have the ability to appreciate what you have given to us, Ya Allah. All the blessings that you have given us, Ya Allah, allow us to truly appreciate it, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, the work that we have done in Ramadan, Ya Allah, allow us to maintain that feeling, that kafiyat, and the dini work that we did, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, accept all the dini work that is being done, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, accept all the dini work that our brothers are doing, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, the Jamaat, Ya Allah, protect us, protect our Jamaat, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, protect the Jamaat, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Allah, allow us to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu and allow us to have muhabba with Rasulullah sallallahu. And Ya Allah, allow us to avoid bid'ah as much as possible, Ya Allah. And fully, Ya Allah, we don't want to add anything to our religion, Ya Allah. We want to do everything according to what is allowed, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, we want to understand why and what we are doing, Ya Allah. We are learning so much, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, so the Imams have worked so hard, Ya Allah, and Ya Allah, we don't want to do any addition without any necessity, Ya Allah. We don't want to do any bid'ah, Ya Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Allah, forgive us for all our sins. Ya Allah, all the things that I have said that were correct, Ya Allah, please accept that, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, all the things that I have said that were wrong, Ya Allah, please forgive those, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, in the coming weeks, the Hujjaj are going to be traveling to the holy city of Mecca, Ya Allah, the holy city of Medina, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, they're going to go and throw pebbles at Shaitan, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, they're going to go and walk around the Kaaba, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, they're going to go and fulfill the sunnah of Bibi Hajra Islam and Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ya Allah, and they are going to go and run between the Safa and Marwa, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, they're going to go stand on the day of Arafah, and they're going to raise their hands, Ya Allah, and they're going to ask for forgiveness, Ya Allah. They're going to ask to fulfill their needs, Ya Allah, and they're going to ask you, Ya Allah, to please forgive them, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, have them remember me in their prayers, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, also call us all who have not been called for Hajj to come to Hajj. And those who are going for Hajj this year, Ya Allah, call them again and again, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, that is your house, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, allow us to do sajda in your house, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, invite us, Ya Allah, invite us, Ya Allah, invite us. Ya Allah, forgive us for all our sins, Ya Allah. We have done so much wrong in this world. Ya Allah, erase the deeds from the Kiram and Katibin, the bad deeds from the Kiram and Katibin. Ya Allah, instead convert the bad deeds into good deeds, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, please forgive us. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Jazakallah khair for everyone who watched this virtual program. I just wanted to just remind everyone to please share so that other people can also benefit, and please subscribe as well. Jazakallah khair.